thank you for joining us. I hope you're getting as good of a winter as we are up here in New York. It's been incredibly phenomenal. I imagine it can only be better in Virginia.
Oh, look, Christine Gouvin's there too.
All right, so we, as you know, we're going to talk about tapering today. We have a presentation. We're going to go through it, but we're going to keep this like super casual. So as we go through it, if you have questions and comments and concerns, whatever it is, feel free to write it in the box, or, raise your hand, and we'll, happily answer those questions as we go through it. You don't have to wait until the end. Although that being said, at the end, we will do a Q&A for any remaining questions. Just either way is just fine. Yeah, so we can introduce ourselves, right?
Yes.
So I'm Marie.
And I'm Luciano.
And we've run in Newport News how many times now? A couple times. Times, right?
Yeah, you more so than I. I think you ran a few times.
Going on 4 years this time. Always happy to come back. It's a great race. I'm assuming there's maybe a few first timers in the room, and probably a few returners as well. Either way, I'm sure you'll all have a great experience. And you made it to the last phase of your training, so congratulations to that. It's a big step, and it's the last step before actually stepping on the starting line. So you made it through. Now it's the easy part before the race. The easy part. Promise.
The tapering part. All right, so I'm gonna share the screen, and we're gonna put up our presentation, and we'll begin our discussion.
All right, so the idea of today is to introduce you to tapering. So we're going to, of course, explain the concept, but as we go through the presentation, we're really going to explain like how can you apply this to your own plan, to your training, and to you individually. And it's going to be mostly running specific, but at the end, we're going to add some further tips, which, touches on, nutrition and all these things. We have, gathered the information through experience and through our reading over the years. So we'll make sure that you have it all available so you can feel fully prepared to take on your training. We will also have this written presentation available to everyone afterwards. So you don't have to scram through trying to take notes or anything. Just focus on the talk and interact with us, and you'll have it all available.
Mm-hmm. So what is tapering? In 3 words, is to diminish gradually. Or more formally, the taper period is a phase where we deload or unload. It's a part of training where we try to significantly decrease the training volume, leading up to an important competition, in this case, the Newport News Marathon, or if you're doing the half marathon. Why do we do this? So, we need to taper to allow the body to fully recover in order to complete its adaptation to training and for you to be able to peak and be ready for race day.
So you finally don't have to run as much, basically.
There are some general benefits of tapering, or more specifically, during the taper period, this deloading phase, your body gets to increase its muscle strength and power. You improve your running economy. You can see improvement in your VO2 max, your performance, your mood, and even there's a reduction in perceived effort of exertion. This happens if you reach, let's say, your peak of your training, and so you're very fatigued. And so during the recovery phase, the taper period, we have all these types of benefits that occur while we diminish our training.
All right, so tapering is unfortunately not as easy as just, following a plan. Here's what it is. It's a little bit different, and there's different variables that you can play around with. So the first thing is like the speed at which you're going to taper. Some people, let's say, tapering towards a half marathon, usually can taper, for like, unless I'm going through duration, my bad. The speed at which you taper. You can taper very gradually, meaning, you start deloading, let's say 20% through the first beginning, and then you kind of keep that all the way through, or you can do it exponentially, meaning that you're going to start tapering a little bit, and then as you get closer to race day, you're just going to decrease even more the amount that you're deloading. Or some people do it step by step, meaning I'm going to reduce a certain volume for the first 3 days. And then again, I'm going to apply this for the following 3 days and kind of repeat like those step basis. Next is duration. So, you know, you can do a 1 week taper, 2 week taper. Those are the most common for athletes who are training for half and tapering towards a half marathon. Marathoners tend to taper for 2 to 3 weeks, both of those as the most common. But those also can be changed depending on like particular situations. Like we've had athletes sometimes training for, you know, tapering for something as little as 7 and 10 days before a full marathon. Although those are not common situations, you know, they do exist. So I said, if you have questions, you feel like, oh, I'm in a very particular situation here, and that, and you want to ask, you know, how we would apply our experience with regards to your situation, raise your hand, don't hesitate. And components, you know, the main thing that people think about is the weekly mileage, how much you run. So of course, that's the main thing that you want to reduce, but there's other things. There's also how often you run and the mileage that you do at your race pace or faster. That's something also that you want to reduce. It's not just the overall mileage. The intensity, sometimes you want to, you know, kind of dial this down, especially as you approach race week. Strength training is actually also something that if you're used to doing, you want to continue doing, but you want to deload because you want to freshen up before the big day.
Yes.
So balancing act. So that's when, you know, I keep saying like it's tapering is pretty individualized, and we'll go more about this, but you don't want to taper too long, but you don't want to not taper enough. If you taper too long, you're essentially detraining, you're losing fitness, you maybe your body's getting a little less conditioned to the running. So, you know, you may not be able to perform as well as you may want to on race day. The opposite, if you
taper too short.
Taper too short, you're not recovered, you're fatigued. So same thing, you may not perform as well because, you know, you need to rest in order to be stronger. So there's kind of a sweet spot that you want to find. Doesn't have to be, you know, this is like, it's not a right or wrong. It's not a hitting the perfect balance, but, you know, you want to try to make that process smooth and try to find what works for you. And once you've done it once, it's
it's usually through experience you'll be able to perfect this balance, whether it's not too long or too short. So experience helps significantly here. All right, so there's an individualized approach. So some people may have gotten hurt. Some people had a very, very strong build out towards their marathon. So there's always an individualized approach towards tapering. The effectiveness or reduction in training load therefore depends on what you have done in terms of the training itself. If you train significantly, you're feeling very, very fatigued, then your taper period may be a little bit longer. And then the way that you actually, or the variables that you control during the taper period, again, can be are very, very individualized. So just note that athlete responds also to the taper duration in varying different ways. Meaning that, you know, given the same type of taper, if we both take 2 weeks taper, then based on our individualized body, our unique selves, then our reaction or effects are different. So with respect to the individualized approach, you can characterize this into, let's say, 3 different profiles. There's a slow responder, that's someone who may need a little bit more taper, of a longer taper period. There's something that's called fast responder. And there's also a bit more interesting one, or complicated, not necessarily a common, but there's also something called biphasic responder.
Basically, if you find yourself, you know, taking longer to recover from training sessions, which may be the case if you're, let's say you're not 20 years old anymore, if you're a little bit older, just your body gets longer to recover, that you may want to be on, you know, targeting a taper, you know, on the longer side. 3 weeks for a marathon is what we would call on the longer side. Also, if your training load was maybe so much high, and also high is very relatively speaking, but if you find yourself very fatigued, even if at 20 years old, you may find that you want more recovery, so you may want, it's sometimes better to do less during the training. So if you find yourself very fatigued, really needing a lot of recovery, and you're not sure whether you want to taper 2 to 3 weeks, we would recommend to go on the longer side, go for that 3-week mark. But if you had, let's say, a first training block, or you've done a few of those, and it's been smooth and you're used to it, it just takes you a normal 24 to 48 hours to recover from standard training sessions, then a typical 2-week period is the most common. It's something fine to start with. If you've never tried it, you want to try something, you can't really go wrong with that.
Yeah, and we'll show some examples as we move forward. So here's, for example, a general training block for an athlete. Let's say training for a half marathon. They are here doing 5 runs a week, where you have, so in the green ones are actually here the runs per week. Typically, let's say you do your speed session on a Wednesday, you have a day off on a Thursday, you do a long session, say on a Saturday, you have a day off on a Sunday. So that's what this example here shows. So based on this example, we can talk a little bit more about the details of what the benefits of training, of tapering, and some keep running factors.
So yeah, so let's say, as you can see on this one, the half marathon, which is the goal race, is on a Sunday, and we're starting to taper basically 1 week out. This is a 1 week taper.
This is the let's say this is your goal race.
So the week leading up to the race is a standard training week, and then as we approach Monday of the race, then you see all the easy days are shorter. The high intensity session is actually lower, and much significantly lower in volume as well, and we put more key running factors that we put there, and you can look at it in further detail on your own time.
So there's 5 factors there. So what you can see is that you're still running all the way up to, let's say this is again the key event, all the way up to there. You're running all the way up to the key event, which is at the end. And so you are still doing your running. You can still keep intensity, but the volume itself is decreased.
And on the second example, the last one we're gonna go through today is towards a full marathon with a 2-week taper, I think. Right, let me just put the details here. Peak week being 3 weeks out of the race. And the reduction is load is exponential, meaning we reduce a little bit at the beginning, and as we get closer to race day, we really start dropping the mileage more significantly. The training structure is the same, so it's like nice during the taper, even if you're doing a lot less, to keep your running habits. Used to getting out of the door, you're going to run less, but it's nice to keep the body in the routine. Just the human body reacts really well to routine, so it's nice to, even if you're doing less, to keep that going. So
you're still always running all the way up to your goal race. You're just reducing, let's say, your mileage. If someone runs 60 miles, it's being reduced to 40 miles. And then from 40 miles, it's being reduced to 20 miles in the final week. So there's a reduction of 33 to 50% of the training volume, which is, again, one of the factors that we use. But then the intensity, you still want to practice your race pace. We practice our race pace all the way up to the last week. In the last week, let's say if the race is on Sunday, which it is in this case, then you will do what we call a shakeout, let's say on Tuesday, and then do a little light jogs, maybe some strides, all the way up to the race itself. Some people like to do a light jog, let's say the day before the race, while others may not do a run the day before the race and just take the day off.
So do-it-yourself approach. So let's say you don't have, a plan, you're working on your own, let's say training towards this race. You've never done it before. A kind of go-to thing that we would recommend is 3 weeks out of the race, do a full training schedule as you've done leading up to that point. And 2 weeks out to start deloading a little bit, meaning your easy days get a little bit shorter. We find that most of the reduction in mileage come from actually the workout days.
Yes.
So definitely let's work at marathon pace, race pace a little quicker. Doesn't mean you don't want to do any of it. You just want to do less of it. Recovery actually should probably be in between intervals, in between repeats, probably a little bit more, right? You just want to feel good doing the pace. But you're not going to gain much fitness 2 weeks out. So it's just about, getting the body, keep moving, feeling good about yourself, feeling good about that pace. So more recovery, but less work. And race week is not doing much, same thing, like you're just doing less and less and less.
Yeah, typically someone may want to just do, let's say for your usual speed session, maybe 1 or 2 miles at race pace, and then some things a little bit faster, so that again, that you can do this, that also that you can run at your desired pace, and it just builds a lot of confidence, because at this point you are as fit as you can get. And so it just feels good to go and run a few miles at what you wish to do on race day, and just feel good about it.
And don't strain too much. It's just about confidence building and just feeling good. Mm-hmm. There's nothing else to be achieved.
Well, all right, there's different recovery methods and strategies and benefits. Some of the strategies that we use in generally is, number one, you can use a soft tissue management, or just you're rolling, doing a deep tissue or myofascial release. This is all the same language. You want to control your sleep quality, meaning get your sleep. Sleep is one of the best recoveries. It's one of the things also that most people have challenges with. There's also psychological relaxation, motivation, read things that are going to motivate you. There's also visualizing technique. You want to picture, let's say, your race. Think about when it gets tough. What is it? You can come up with little strategies and plans, so you can just prepare for that part of the race. And also ensure that you have proper nutrition and sport-specific food for your race itself. So the benefits, of course, of this is if you do some soft tissue massage, then this is going to improve your mobility. It's also just going to help your body recover. You can relax mentally, increase your confidence, replenish energy stores during this taper period by eating nutritionally, and sustain maximal power output. This just means that your muscles themselves are just fully recover, and then you're going to be able to perform well then on race day. Something that is extremely important, as we put it at the bottom there, it says you should try nothing new during this period. During the recovery period, avoid trying new things. You want to try to do new things during training period, not during the recovery, but not during the taper period.
So other little things to consider, it is common to feel a little achy during the taper. It's pretty normal. Your body's recovering, so some things may arise. Doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. You just may need maybe a little bit of rest, maybe all these other aspects of recovery that we just mentioned, maybe you're not tackling on those enough. So, look at those aspects as well. Massages, a lot of athletes get massages before the marathon, and they're great. Just don't be the one who goes the day before or 2 days before. The reason why is, when you're getting a nice deep tissue sports massage, they really get into the muscles in order to get the benefits from it. So you may get sore in the next day. So do it a week before, do it 10 days before. If you have, for some reason, a massage schedule a couple of days before the race, do tell your masseuse, your professional, to go light on you. Tell them, I have a racing event, I need to be fresh, so that they go lighter on you, and you can get basically just a little massage in the surface to feel good, but nothing that would be really deep in there.
Yeah, you just don't want to be sore from a massage before the race day. So you need to allow appropriate amount of time.
And take care of your toenails, take care of blisters, take care of all little skin things. It may sound silly, there's nothing like a bloody, irritated toe to hurt you for 26 miles. It's no. So try to take care of that in advance, so that the skin can generate on time. You just want to feel good on race day.
You have to make sure you take care of all the little things, especially yourself at this time. And there are a lot of nutritional considerations, which is extremely important for endurance events. So during the taper period, you are training significantly less. So let's say we're 2 weeks out. You're not trying to, like, let's say you're carbo low or eat significantly. Remember, as your training decreases, now you're burning, let's say, less calories. And so you should also will not have to consume as much as you were, let's say, before you do a long session, like a 20 miler, because you're not going to have a 20 miler during your taper period, or at least 2 weeks out. So typically you'll cut back on the serving size early in the week, since you will not be burning as many calories, and then be selective on the foods that you're eating during this period. You know, aim to eat more nutritious and healthy items, and avoid high sugars and high fat products. Hydrate well throughout the entire week, especially during the carbo loading days, which are just typically a few days prior to the marathon. If you are traveling, consider packing healthy snacks, foods, and other of your favorite items, because you may not find them where you're, let's say, where you're going, or you just have things that are very, very specific to you. So we'll pack our favorite snacks. If you're flying at high altitudes, we know this causes dehydration. So make sure you remember to carry a water bottle during your flights, and you continue hydrating. And again, don't try anything new, particularly on your last week of training, and when it comes to foods in your last few days. During the carbo loading phase, which is a few days prior to, a few days, typically 2 to 3. Some people can consider carbo loading. We keep our usual, at least personally, we keep our usual eating habits, except on the day prior.
We start carbo 24 hours before.
On the day before, the race itself. We'll make sure we have a good breakfast, and make sure you have a good lunch and dinner. So carbo loading for us does not take place all week. It would take place 48 hours pre-race.
48 hours is the most common. So starting 2 days out, you want to start, kind of dialing down on the fiber, increasing the number of carbs. You want simple carbs as you get, so you can use that energy, especially as you get closer to the race. Yeah,
but if you have very specific special needs, you can always consult a sports dietitian or nutritionist for guidance. But usually what we do is, throughout our training, every weekend we're doing our long run, and we have a meal, or we practice eating something, and throughout the years we have developed, we found like this is the meal. I'm a gnocchi guy, so I like to eat like this potato thing, and that's what we all the time before the big race day. We do not want to try anything new. We want everything to be as perfect and as simple as possible. Sleep considerations.
Get lots of sleep, get good sleep. It's normal not to sleep so well the day before the race. The Newport News One City Marathon starts very early, and we lose an hour of sleep that night, I believe.
I think so,
I think it's that weekend. So it's okay not to get a lot of sleep the night before. It's very common, you may have race jitters, a little anxious. Try to sleep, of course, but you have to be up so early, and you're preparing your things the day before. So just don't be thrown off if you don't sleep that much. That's fine. The night before that is the one that you're gonna bank on your sleep on that Friday night. Essentially, you're gonna get. I always recommend, don't set an alarm on that Saturday morning. Just really sleep through, get all the sleep that you need. You wake up whenever, if you have that luxury, of course, you can wake up whenever you wake up on Saturday. That's the best. And that's pretty much it. Other than that, just get good sleep. That's when the body recovers the best.
Yeah, one thing also to allow your mind to be more at ease is make sure you prepare everything. You lay out everything before your race, so that you have less things on your mind, and you can wake up knowing that, okay, I just have to put on my gear and get to the start, have my breakfast, and just practice my routine. So also having a little less things in your mind help. So wake up also early enough on race day to eat, use the bathroom, get to the race, relax, pre-prep everything 2 days before, so you can save on sleep hours. There's also some psychological considerations, focus on reading books, magazines, or streaming shows and movies that will provide you with motivation and inspiration for the race. Because the way we approach the race, making sure that we have a positive mentality, does affect our performance. And so not just our performance, so just enjoying the event itself, also enjoying the crowd, and just enjoying the weekend, the entire weekend. One of the reasons we go over there so that we can hang out with our friends. And I want to enjoy the race itself. I remember during the race, I had so much fun because I approached the race itself with a positive mentality. So take care of any anxieties and concerns the week prior to the big race. Preparation is the best strategies to reduce, eliminate stress and anxiety, and stay away from those who are excessively stressed out and negative, because it rubs off.
I'll see you in 3 weeks, people.
Yeah, it rubs off. So
it's a good time to like work on your playlist if you're going to listen to music during the race, like all these little things that are positive and exciting. You picture yourself running it. You just anything that's going to make you feel confident and relaxed, ready to tackle whatever you're in for.
All right, someone says that daylight saving times, of course, March 12th, not on the one.
All right, so
all right,
you're not losing an hour of sleep. It's the following week. You're good.
Thank you. That's great.
That is good. Logistical. So, sorry, City Lakes, don't go sightseeing the day before. This is something to take with you as you go through different marathons around the world. A lot of athletes are running also Tokyo the same weekend, and it's far, and we understand, they want to go see because it's a bit of a travel, but wherever you go, do all that sightseeing after the race. It's a great way to recover. You may walk a little slower, struggle down the steps, but it's fine to walk around. Really don't quite do much of it. You don't want to sit on the couch all day, but you don't want to be on the other extreme, which is just walking so much more than you would have normally done the day before.
Yeah, so if you're going to visit, I guess, the city of Newport, then you can do it on Friday. You can do a lot of sightseeing on Monday. I believe our friends have booked tickets before for a Monday, so we can go and visit different places, or we'll go a few days before. But typically Saturday, almost a couch potato.
Pretty much. Pack for all type of weather. Especially if you arrive quite a bit early. If you're already leaving locally, then you have your whole closet, so that's not much of a concern. But if you do travel, the weather can kind of shift, tends not, with today's technology, it doesn't shift from one extreme to the next. But if you hesitate between a couple outfit, like pack both, it's fine. And I always recommend the most important item of your race gear, your shoes. Let's say you only have that one pair of shoes you're going to race in. You may want to keep that with you instead of checking in it, because luggage do get lost, and if you don't have it in time, some things are difficult to let's say to just purchase again. You just may not have that access. So whatever you can't replace, you may want to keep it with you if you are traveling.
Keep it on your carry-on.
And actually breakfast too. If you're traveling and you don't have the comfort of your home and all the same things, like I know a bunch of friends who carry their little oatmeals and things, the same thing that they've used week in and week out, because they just make it in their hotel rooms and think, oh, it's the same thing then every day.
I think in the city of Newport, they have good breakfast spots. Last year when we raced, we went and we had some great breakfast, some great pancakes.
Some athletes are just, need
like
the
that.
Same thing every morning.
But
so
if you're very particular.
If you're particular, it's okay to pack.
Yep, you should always pack your goodies.
You can never be too prepared.
Yeah, race strategy and goal setting. Make sure you plan ahead. If you really have a race goal, you need to have a race plan and a strategy before you get to the race itself. You need to know how you're going to execute your plan. So you need to make a plan. So the evening prior to the marathon, it's not the time to determine your goals.
Don't call your coach at 10 p.m. the night before. Use your whole taper time to do it earlier.
Yeah. So goals and race strategies are determined actually during the training cycle in conjunction with your coach, or you can just, if you're doing yourself, then you look at what kind of paces you've been running during your long runs, and you can assess yourself by running a few marathon pace miles and see how do they feel. So but the idea here is to have your goal and a strategy for the race day set prior to the day itself and even the evening before. All right, so I think that ends our formal presentation. And so if anyone has any questions, then we'll be more than happy to answer them.
let's open up to some questions.
Yeah, let's stop the share. And so if anyone has any questions, you can write it in the chat, or you can just
Go for it at this point.
yeah, unmute yourself and speak.
If folks want to ask a question, please raise your hand and I will unmute your microphone.
All right. You're just going to share with them some
Yeah, you just leave us like some common questions that we get. Let's see. How do you taper your strength training? You know, you have strength training your whole training block. What do you do now?
So typically, let's say our athletes and ourselves will. Oh no, there's a question first. Let's see. So typically, our athletes will do strength training 3 times a week, and so just in the same way we taper our running, with the variables being the amount of volume that you're doing and the intensity, then the strength training actually is tapered as well. So certain number, so I am not lifting, let's say, as heavy, or I'm not doing as many reps, and I'm more focusing more just on the movements themselves as opposed to trying to build a lot more strength. So you actually do taper your strength training as well. So this is one of the, I guess, one common question that is asked typically. Okay, Geraldine, there's a question from Geraldine. For those doing Tokyo, is the week 3 of tapering? Oh, I think that's actually one of our athletes, Geraldine. I think so. So typically, we don't do the 3rd week to be a taper period. This is our our peak week. And so 2 weeks prior to Tokyo is our non-taper. That's when we begin the taper period. So what is the question then?
He's asking if now is week 3.
For those doing Tokyo,
yeah,
is this week 3 of tapering? No, we're not in the taper period because we're not 2 weeks out.
Yeah, we're not tapering. Yeah, you're not tapering, Geraldine. Sorry, next week. One more big week.
Okay, this is another question. I did my long run this past Wednesday instead of Saturday. So that's a few days over the 3-week period. This is my first marathon. I've done 14 half marathons. I'm in the older age group. I was thinking of doing a long run again this Thursday, then tapering recommendations. So she did, when did she do her first one?
You mean the last one?
Her first, her last long run.
Let's see, what is it?
This
Wednesday instead of Saturday.
So, and now you want to do one so 1 week after. So yeah, that's fine, because you're typically, I would say that the last long session that you can do will be 10 weeks.
10 weeks
out. I mean, 10 days out will be like the last one that you want to squeeze in. Perfection will be, let's say, just 14 days. We usually use that's the average. So if you did it on a Sunday, that's okay, but you can vary it by a few days. If it's be inside the 10-day range, then I don't recommend doing a long session. And if you're really not sure, then instead of doing another 20 miler, just do a medium long session. Instead of 20, do 16. And you can
but you have over 2 weeks left. So yeah, that's very reasonable to do. Yeah, you definitely have one more for your first marathon. You're doing one more long run, and then you have, actually, if you do it on Thursday, then you have a little bit more than 2 weeks left. It's very, very much within reason. So that sounds all good. Getting that last big one in.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you so much for your question. Any other questions? We appreciate the questions. We can ask another common question.
Pros and cons of running the day before the marathon.
Well, we usually run the day before the marathon, about 30 minutes. It's good to just kind of like shake out. It's considered a shakeout. It helps us stay loose, avoid any like a stiffness in our body. Because if you're just sitting down, let's say all day on Saturday, then that you may feel a little stiff. So we typically do a little light jog.
Always. Jason says, do you believe that a specific workout like Yasuo's 800s can help you predict your fitness? And what can you expect to run a marathon? Yeah, if you are in the complete blur of your ability, I would recommend something actually like maybe a longer session, because this is probably the most comparable, you know, to what you're about to tackle. Let's say the marathon. On the track, we tend to see, you know, a lot of athletes can go really quick, and then doesn't this translate to the longer events? So
just to answer more directly, the Yasuo's 8 is not no. This is the
that's
it's non-specific. It was more of a I would like to say more of a fad, but it's not a it's not a good indicator.
Yeah, a better indicator, I think, from our experiences, let's say if you're talking about taking on the marathon, is actually a long tempo. And long is, it also depends, you know, how on your, you know, your fitness. It's a little bit different if you're, let's say, running 5 hours or 3 hours, right? But you know, like an extended, like a good solid block of miles at a pace, the same effort that you would hope to do on race day, that's probably the best indication. So if you're squeezing in one more long run, your very last one, the super common one that we do as a last one, it's like 12-mile tempo marathon pace. It helps you to, you know, practice pacing, easing into your rhythm, and just practicing cruising along. This course is great because it's super flat, so you can really control. So if you can mimic that, use a road that would be flat to do this, it's going to help you learn how to control. And then you look at your data afterwards, like, all right, I was able to do this, and this is how it felt. Should be able to take on that in 2 weeks.
A long run, a long tempo is a good indicator of your fitness. Tony has a question, so you are unmuted. You can ask your question, Tony.
Okay. Thank you for your time, guys. I appreciate it. Everything has been great so far, for sharing your all your knowledge. My question for you guys would be, is it beneficial on the week prior to the race? When I say beneficial, the tapering, the workouts that we do, the time to do it, to mimic the race time. Is there a benefit to that? What I'm getting at is, like, you know, if the race starts at 7:30, should I do all my workouts the week prior at 7:30? Is there a benefit to that?
Well, your body gets used to it. The idea of training itself is to get your body adapted. And so training itself is repetitive. If you are able to do this, even your runs at the same time, then you're better mimicking what to expect in some sense on race day, at least in the time that you're going to go to sleep, what you're going to eat, and the time you're going to actually start the race. So it allows you to practice not just physiologically get ready, but also logistically. So I would say that yes, if you can, there is a lot of benefits to trying to mimic. Even 1 week before, we always do our long sessions on Sundays, so that we can, because most major marathons and most marathons are on Sundays, again, for the same reason that you may be asking, to get everybody to.
Oh yeah, and just to second that, the reason I asked that question, because I know it's like they tell you not to try nothing new. During my training for the past 6 months, I've been taking it easy, but building up this stamina. You know, life happens. I do a lot of my week runs in the evenings, and the weekends I do them in the mornings. So my body's used to that rhythm.
Yes.
And that, but I look at the how everybody says, you know, you want to practice. Exactly, nothing different. But
I would say, like, don't force it, right? If it like changes your schedule drastically and you're not getting sleep because you have to force that run at 7 a.m. like I say, it's not going to make or break your race to, you know, kind of sink yourself. So I said, if it's complicated and a hassle, like don't bother. But I'd say if it's simple, it's just a little switch and you're comfortable doing it, like it's not going to hurt. And if it's going to make you feel good and build confidence, you know, I did that all week, so I'm going to do it on race day. So in which case I would say yes.
It's considered basically I would consider that a race day rehearsal. So you can take that last run and think of it as, oh, this is my race day rehearsal. I would say that would be. So
if it's not too complicated, then go for it. If it throws your life away, then then it's okay not to do it.
Thank you very much.
Answer your question? Yeah.
Let's see. Okay. Christine, as a runner, is ways to deal with jet lag, especially for my lovely friends running Tokyo. I mean, get there early so you can get used to it. But I mean, Tokyo's on the other side of the world, and I don't have a secret. I'm challenged when I go abroad, especially on that direction. It's difficult.
This is like the biggest, I guess, delay, like change of time to you.
Difficult.
The only thing that you can do is get there as early as you can and try to adjust yourself in terms of sleep. Make sure you get your sleep.
Yeah, just I don't know, too bad. Yeah, sorry, I don't have a magic
there
solution.
is no magic solution for that. However, on race day, you have so much adrenaline that does not play much of a role. It's just the days prior, your mental state is changed. And so if you approach that day on a positive note, then you'll be able to still perform well because you are in physically good shape. So if you can get there early, make sure you try to synchronize your sleep. It's all about the sleep at this point. All right, let's see what Ahmed has a question. So go ahead, Ahmed.
So my question is more like a race strategy question than a taper question. What do you guys think about like trying to do a negative split for the marathon? I mean, I kind of tried that at Shamrock at Virginia Beach last year, and I ended up trying to make up that time in the middle, and I kind of overcooked it. So like negative split versus just running an even pace the whole way, because me and my buddy are trying to hit a very specific time or break a time. So like, I don't really want to like put myself in a hole, but at the same time, I would like to maybe stave off that, wall maybe a little bit longer.
You don't want to start off.
It's a fair concern. It's a fair concern. You're looking for a balance. Do you want to answer first or you?
Yeah, I think depending how much speed legs you have. If you're someone who's very comfortable at marathon pace and you have, a lot of leg speed, let's say you can go any day and you run something that is significantly faster than marathon pace, meaning you have a strong kick and you've had a good training block, then we would always encourage those athletes to start conservative and aim for that negative split, because you're going to cruise along for so long and then you can so easily make up the time in the later stages. So, the couple seconds that you lose at the beginning, easing into the pace, they're nothing, because you can run so much faster. You have that like speed that you'll make them up. Or if you're on the other side of the spectrum, you're someone who is like, this is it, like this is I can hold it, but it's very difficult to go any faster, in which case you kind of, if you don't have any kick, then you have to start at pace and pretty much hold it, because you don't have that luxury of being able to ever go any quicker. So that becomes a little bit individualized. Whose athlete are you?
What kind of athlete are you? So again, just to use a different word, if you have a strong kick, strong finish, able to really run faster than your goal pace, you can make up those seconds easily towards the end. But if you cannot change your pace significantly or introduce new gears, then you need to be early on, let's say, closer to your goal pace, so that you can run
maybe like 5 seconds slower for the first 5 miles.
Yeah, you could start even, I mean, it depends how much you can go, but going even like 10 seconds slower for that first mile, up to 10, 15, and kind of let it very naturally bring it back down.
But there's a little slight downhill at the beginning of the course.
It's like 10 feet. It's nothing.
Okay. So, one thing to remember is that this course is just great for running a negative split, because it's pretty much flat. And so you do need to use the first few miles to just ease into your pace. You don't want to run them faster than your goal pace. You should run them you should run it a little bit slower. Typically, you can take the first 3 miles and then settle into your goal pace.
And as you said, we would recommend by mile to be right on that goal pace. And don't worry about making up the time until you're way further into the race. Like, I wouldn't make up the time halfway through, like what you mentioned. I would really keep, making up those time after mile 20. So really cruise along as long as you can, because, you build confidence the further you go.
Especially if you're feeling good. But remember, it's almost impossible to run it to the dot. So you need to give yourself a working range So if someone who's trying to break, let's say 4 hours, we'll tell them to run between 9 and 9:05. This is your working range. And so when they are running their, let's say their first few miles, then they may start between 9:10 to 9:15. When you, after every mile that you run inside the range of 9 and 9:05, let's say there are 10 more miles to go, you're always getting an extra second. And this adds up. 1 second, you can think of it as a multiplier of like, well, it's actually 26 seconds. So if you're off by 1 second, starting off your race, you know that you're really off by 26 seconds, like overall. So the strategy again is just, we still want to start a little slower, get at goal pace range, and then you're able to you'll be able to either pick it up or hold. But if you're running just a little bit below the goal pace, then you're actually accumulating a significant amount of time where you don't have to have too much, too much to make up at the end. So you can also just narrow your range a bit more.
Okay, thanks, guys.
All right, Z has a question. Go ahead, Z.
Sorry, I wasn't have a question, and I kind of forgot exactly if you asked about time zone or if someone asked a question, but because I know that I probably struggle with it, I found an app, so if someone can look at it, if they want to try it, it's called Time Shifter. So just sharing that, it kind of tells you like when, if you're someone who drinks caffeine, like when you should drink it, and it tells you when, depending on when you're traveling, you know, when to start this. So you can look it up. It's called Time Shifter. So that's all I wanted to comment on.
You can also even write it down there, Z, in the comments. So
Oh, okay, sorry, I'm moving around. Someone goes,
Yeah.
okay, I'll write it down.
Thank you so much. Yep, and then
Alright.
how will she asked the question?
Are there any tips when the race day weather is dramatically different from your training climate? For example, hot, cold day or rainy weather. That reminds me of last year. And one city we trained in, what was it? Especially where we were
extreme.
single digits,
Yeah.
freezing cold winter, and then we showed up beach weather. So yeah, I mean, if it's, let's say you're training the cold and it's particularly warm, you have to adjust the time. What you can run in optimal condition is not the same as what you can run in, 70 plus degrees, unfortunately. So, have the right gear. That's the number one thing. You can control that. So control that part. And then if, super windy and just the condition are not optimal, then you want to revise, you have to adjust, you have to revise your goals a little bit, because this is what I can achieve in perfect conditions. Now the weather has something to say and makes those conditions not perfect anymore. Then of course the goal has to be adjusted, because you should always just want to do the best that you can do on the day. And that's it. So yeah, you may want to adjust.
So just typically, generally speaking, if it's too hot, then you have to slow down significantly more. Too cold, and you have to make sure you're well layered up. If it's too windy, you also have to consider which direction it is. If it's on your back, then that's outstanding.
Then you may want to go quicker. Actually, that's pretty much, if you get a nice tailwind, especially on a point-to-point course.
This is very nice.
Yeah, you'll be able to go quicker. Then this doesn't happen often, but it's pretty phenomenal when it does.
Yeah, but just generally speaking, you have to just know you need to adjust to the condition. And typically adjusting means either what you're wearing or the pace.
That's right.
All right, Janelle, to everyone, this may not be a proper place. Are we required to take the shuttle bus? I believe that was answered already.
Oh, you can be dropped off. Yeah, it's just I'll answer.
Okay.
Besides correlating a few days prior to the race, what do you recommend for race day, for breakfast or light snack? Ooh, what you're used to, Mr. Friend. I'm gonna jump on that.
That's
the same thing that you've done, Fatty. Same thing that you've done.
Yes.
Try nothing new. I mean, race morning, whatever you're gonna eat is gonna be in your stomach as your race. So especially if you have a sensitive stomach, like don't try anything new. Ideally something you've already had, something you're coming with. I think we all have different breakfast. What is your go-to?
Me, I like oatmeal. It depends also actually what time I wake up and when does the race start. Thank goodness in Newport News, the race day logistics are very, very smooth. So on that day, I will have my oatmeal and smash it maybe with a banana and maybe a little peanut butter on the side.
So quick carbs, I think, whether it's oatmeal or, bread, bananas.
Yeah.
People do like some snack bars, some things. You know, you want something, some quick sugar that your body can use, because you'll need it pretty much right away. I've had something different for every marathon.
Lucky
Like,
you.
it depends on the mood. I always plan it ahead, but yeah, I've done oatmeal, I've done bread and banana, I've done banana pancakes that I had made myself. I think the only thing I struggle to eat morning of, I think if you're nervous, some people may relate to that. I'm used to also taking a drink, which is full of carbs. It's just a powder I'm mixing with water. So if I'm so nervous and I can't get in my breakfast, it's important to eat. So I just drink more of that drink that I am used to. It's called a super fuel by Scratch. I know a bunch of brands have equivalents. But as I said, like, this is something I'm used to taking. So
yeah, that's what I do actually as well. I forgot. Yeah. First, I have my super fuel, which has about 400 calories.
100 grams of carbs per serving, yeah.
Yep. And then I still eat my breakfast.
And I always pack some snack to the start, whether it's a small race or a big race. In my bag, there's always a banana and some type of chocolate bar and
some munchies.
Some munchies always to the start, and I kind of snack as I approach the race start. That's something I always do. I have no problem eating and running, so I do that on race day as well.
All right. Any other questions there?
I think that wraps it up, unless someone has any last minute question, in which case you can go for it. But if not, it was great chatting with everyone.
Yes, and we appreciate the questions and you all attending. And I believe we'll see you in Newport News, and some of you actually will see this Sunday.